as a city, we have to accept that we are going to be in some discomfort for the next few days.
Jumaane Williams, who could potentially replace Eric Adams as mayor.
We are going to have to accept some discomfort in the next few days. That's what we're going to have to do as a city to get through this. And so I'm asking the mayor and the police commissioner to allow people to express their anger, to allow people to express their pain. And as a city, we have to accept that we are going to be in some discomfort for the next few days. And the only thing we should be asking is, how do we address the pain and how do we address the anger? And as long as the leaders are from the community making the decisions, we should all be supportive.
All right, so he's the public advocate in New York City. That was obviously during COVID, but he is a huge BLM activist. He was out there. He's talking about we have to let them express anger and everything else. There's plenty of anger being shown in New York City right now. Hamas and Hezbollah supporters yesterday closed down Grand Central. That probably won't be on CNN today. Mike, to me, this is one of those things where, regardless of whether I like Eric Adams or not, and I always describe him as a not completely insane Democrat, it's just going to get worse. No matter who they replace him with, likely this guy, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, you could point to Chicago, right, to make that argument. I think, look, I appreciate some of the things that Eric Adams has been trying to do. I think he's essentially a good person in obviously a very difficult job. I do believe that in a better world, we would have a bar set higher. Again, it's not, as we pointed out, it's not the way that the world actually works. But if anyone imagines that, okay, Eric Adams, listens to the demands from some folks that he resign immediately and he resigns, if somebody imagines that somehow that's going to lead to a brand new day in Gotham City, right? And, everything's going to become, good and unicorns start flying out of our asses. I just don't see how people get to that point, right? There has to be other fundamental changes in terms of what we expect from elected officials, and also how we approach information flow, right? Again, everybody's playing beat the clock. Part of the problem is, look, we always berate the media, which, they deserve a real ass kicking on a regular occasion. But part of the problem is they're playing beat the clock with everybody who's got a smartphone, right, who imagines themselves to be a journalist, right? And they're out there taking photos, or they're putting out their theories, or they're releasing information. So we don't get those moments that we used to get back when you had 3 networks, and everybody had an entire day before the 5 or 11 o'clock news to create their stories, to fact check, right, and then present. And then what you had is, in the evenings, you had a shared experience. Most Americans were sitting down and listening to the same news reports. They may come away with a different interpretation to some degree, but there was a shared experience, and we don't get that anymore. I'm not quite sure how I disappeared down that rabbit hole.